Before I get started with this, let me give a shout out to Black Rye or Black. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing their name correctly, but if they see it, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. On Twitter for tagging me in this story right here that's probably going to go widely unnoticed, but I'm going to talk about it anyway to give it some attention or as much attention as it possibly can get. And it is coming out of Massachusetts via Boston. And I already know the fact that it says Boston lets me know everything I need to know about this story already. But this person right here, their name is Nathan Allen, and all three of these pictures are of the same person. Of course, the first two that you see on the left are more clear about how he looks, but this last one is what definitely got him caught up. So basically, this guy right here, he stole his van. He went and found two random black people and he killed them. And he had racist rhetoric all over the place at the same time. But when they said this happened in Boston, I wasn't surprised that this happened. Now, the best part about this whole situation is that it has been announced that it is being investigated as a hate crime, because they could have easily bypassed it and said, oh, we need to question if it is or if it isn't. But they have enough evidence to say that it will be investigated as such. But I'm going to go ahead and get into this article. Nathan Allen, a married man with a PhD who said he worked as a physical therapist, was named as the gunman who shot and killed a retired Massachusetts state trooper and Air Force staff sergeant after crashing a stolen box truck into a building in Winthrop. He left behind white supremacist writings targeting Jews and blacks, authorities said. He told neighbors he worked as a physical therapist, according to the Boston Globe. The bizarre incident unfolded in Winthrop, Massachusetts, in a chaotic scene on the street and ended with police shooting and killing the suspect. So, there's another good thing. They took his ass out. The local district attorney released Allen's name. The two innocent people lost their lives, DA Rachel Rollins said, adding that the murders are being investigated as a hate crime. Both victims were black. She believes Allen acted alone. On social media, the gunman painted a picture of a mundane and apolitical life, writing about his rabbits and being featured with his future wife in a flattering Boston Globe article that described how they got married in a nursing home so her grandfather could attend in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. He had no criminal history and had earned a PhD, prosecutors say. Those attributes were a front that hid a darker side fueled by racism. Well, that definitely is a front, because they keep mentioning that he has a PhD, and I'm thinking to myself, what does him having a PhD have to do with the fact that this guy was a racist and a murderer? Asked whether the victims were targeted for the color of their skin, Rollins said he walked by several other people that were not black and they are alive. They were not harmed. They are alive, and those two people who are black are not. And they did release the images of the two victims, and I'm gonna show you the images in a couple of minutes. Ramona Cooper, a veteran, a staff sergeant in the Air Force, was shot 3 times in the back. David L. Green, a retired Massachusetts state trooper, was executed yesterday, shot 4 times in the head and 3 in the torso. She said, adding that both were heroic. So look at that. So we can tell this was definitely a calculated attack, because it says she was shot 3 times in the back and he was shot 4 times in the head and 3 times in the torso. She was shot 3 times. He was shot 7. 3 people were shot in all, including the suspected gunman, Winthrop police said in a statement. Police shot the gunman. They said that the truck was stolen. Police this is the 5 little facts, on heavy.com, but I'm not going to read all into the details. It says, I'm just going to read the subheading. It says, police believe Nathan Allen, who left behind racist and anti-Semitic rhetoric, stole a box truck owned by a plumbing and drain company. Think of all of the charges he would have had attached to his name had he still been alive. The next one is, it says, Allen had a lawful license to carry a firearm, met his future wife at UMass Dartmouth, and took her to McDonald's on their first date, showcasing a mundane life until now. The next piece reads, Allen previously worked at a middle school and senior care home, emphasizing his duties, including creating a safe environment. That's crazy. He said that's why they said it was all a front. A safe environment. Look at that picture on the right. The next one says a witness described the shooter as shoeless and disoriented. And the last one says Allen, who said he was a physical therapist, was a little off, according to a neighbor. Now, I'm sure they go into a little bit more detail of each one, but I'm not going to read every last piece. What I'll probably do is I'll leave the article here and you can go, if you want to, read for yourself in between the lines of why those subheadings were there. But I just wanted to get to the meat of the entire situation. And I'm going to pause the video right quick and show you the pictures of the victims. All right, so here are the two people right here that he murdered right here. Crazy. That's crazy. And these were hits. He didn't shoot them one time. He shot them multiple times each. It said she got shot 3 times in the 3 times in the back, and he got shot 4 times in the head and 3 times in the torso. The only two good things that came out of this is one, that it was investigated as a hate crime. Unfortunately, because it's being investigated as a hate crime, well, let me kind of rearrange what I was getting ready to say. The unfortunate thing is that he's not here to face his consequences for it to be a hate crime. And it makes me wonder, if he was still alive, would they have investigated as a hate crime? But they are. But the fact is, he's just not here. But the other thing to that is also that they did take him out. They didn't allow him to just live because of what he did. So they can't say, oh, he did it because it was an insanity thing or anything like that. It's just that he's just not here for it to happen. But it definitely is a hate crime nonetheless, because they said that he walked past other people, but when he came up on them, that's who he decided to kill. So there you go. But it's still unfortunate nonetheless what happened to these two individuals. And yeah, people out here are just absolutely off the chain. But when they said this happened in Boston, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. Because Boston is has a very racist history. It's literally like the Jim Crow of the North. Or at least the Northeast anyway. Like, there are horror stories that come out of Boston from back then, and still horror stories that come out of Boston right now. This is a horror story of Boston right now. But I do offer my condolences to each one of these individuals' families. It's crazy to say that, they lost their loved ones in such a violent way, but also in a way they got instant justice because the person who did it is indeed dead, and they decided to go investigate it as a hate crime. I don't know how much will actually come of it being investigated as a hate crime, considering that the person who committed it is dead themselves. But also, like I said, on the flip side, the person is not here. So, something did come out of it, but also something or people were taken away because of it at the same time. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's a bittersweet type of situation. But y'all let me know what y'all think about it down in the comments.